I'm not sure if I'd have known when they were booking this that this was it. I don't know for sure what I would have said. Probably yes, but I would stop for a minute and thought, because I've kind of dodged all of that all my life, you know. I mean, ever thinking too much about it. It's not that, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a mixed bunch of feelings when you know, you're never ready for someone dying, and when you feel guilty about it and everything, you know, you're thinking, trying to find reasons that you might have caused it, you know. And I never even saw a picture of the plane crash until 15 years later. I wouldn't look at it. And I was in my house one day looking through a book, and all of a sudden I saw it. And I just looked at it, and I could pick out who was who. You know, but it's something I never a week goes by that I don't think of something about Buddy and those guys. Not a haunt of any kind. It's usually something good, you know, something I learned from them. Not long ago, I saw Richie Valens' sisters and their cousin. You know. We hung out with them a little bit, but it was a good thing, you know. But I learned that was a turning point. The night right here in my life, and that's probably why this place is the one I remember. And I don't remember anything before it. You know, like any ballroom or anything we played. I remember being in the bus, freezing to death. But I remember coming here and getting off the bus and going into a room. It wasn't like a dressing room at all. And there were a lot of chairs lined up. And that's where the Big Bopper came over. Buddy had told me that he had chartered the plane for me and him and Tommy Olsen. And so that's where the Big Bopper came over. He'd had the flu real bad. He was feeling terrible. The seats on that, he was a big man. And the seats were about like that. We were in a converted bus, school bus. And so he said, I got to get some rest. He said, would you let me have your seat on the plane? I said, it's okay with Buddy, it's okay with me. And I heard later that Tommy and Richie flipped coins. But I think of things every once in a while. I think something to laugh that went on that tour. It was quite an education for me to be so young.
What effect did Buddy Holly have on your music and your career and your life?
And attitude. Buddy was what I call an upper. He was laughing all the time. But he had another side to him, too. You messed with him, and you didn't want to mess with him. That was it. But I learned a lot musically from him. I learned about rhythms. I learned about grooves. See, I've seen some country records that would just double in tempo. And they still do. And they thought if it had a groove to it, and I've had a lot of things do that. Anyway, you know, they thought it'd be a rock and roll if you got too much of a groove going there. Buddy Holly and Don Was are two guys that lived in the pocket. What I call the pocket is when you get that rhythm and it don't stop, you know, and it don't go anywhere but right. You know? And I learned that about it, not to compromise your music. I learned about that. And, you know, and not anybody tell you what to do. See, they have a terrible thing about, you know, producers thinking that it's their record, you know. And he got a dose of Nashville early. He went there and it was like they had a bluegrass band back in Buddy Holly singing rock and roll. He went nuts and went home. And I learned, you know, that you can, if it sounds different, that's good, you know? Because I'd write songs and I'd say, man, that don't sound like nobody's stuff, you know? And I finally realized, you know, from him that's good if it don't sound like nobody else. Because you know what? He was the only one. And the reason that he is, you know, like he was right in there with Elvis, but he was the only one to come along that didn't sound like Elvis. And had his own style. And he was the first to write his own songs. He wrote a lot of great songs.
Is the Surf Ballroom as you remember it?
I was never in this part of it, but I looked out and I can see the stage. I think the other side of the room is where I was at. Other side of the, over there behind stage. Because I remember steps going up, and I remember Buddy telling me to go get some hot dogs, and I came back. And we sat there and him laughing because he was in a cane bottom chair. He was leaned against the wall, right where you go upstairs. And he was laughing at me because I wasn't going on the plane.
What are your tour plans for the fall and the winter?
I don't know. I hadn't worked. This is the first night I've worked in a long time. I've been in and out of the hospital for about 2 months. I'm enjoying being off. I'm not going to do anything after. I'm going to Australia with a highwayman. And we're going to go to Australia and Hong Kong and Vietnam. And we're going a whole month over there, Australia. And we're also going to Singapore. And I can't wait to get there and watch Willie get caned. I know he's going to get caned because he ain't never going to be able to not do nothing. And boy, he looked at me funny. I told him that about a week or two ago. He said, you looking forward to going to Australia and all those places? And I said, yeah, I want to get to Singapore. And he said, that's the one I want to go to. And he said, why? And I said, I want to watch him cane you.
We've heard rumors that there are several country western stars that are going to re-record some of Buddy's material. Do you know anything about that?
Oh, yeah, I've already done one myself.
You have?
Yeah, I don't know who all was going to do it. It's going to be on Decca. And I did, Mark Knopfler, Dire Straits, produced me. And we went in there and did a song that really wasn't finished. The song was a half a song, because I remember when Buddy put it down on the tape. He said, this ain't finished, but I got to put it down where I can remember what I did. So it was called Learning the Game. And, of course, he's had it out, and they put music around it. We got a real good record. We hung in there, and he said, I said, you do know this song's not finished? And Mark Knopfler said, yeah, I know it. And I said, you do know we're not going to write any more, don't you? He said, yeah.
Here at the Surf Ballroom, we have an annual tribute to Buddy Holly. It is a major nationwide event that really is designed to keep Buddy's spirit and his music alive. How do you feel? Would you like to be invited, or would you ever feel like you'd like to participate in that?
I probably would, and sometime. Yeah, I'm sure I would sometime.
Have you ever thought about what your career would have been like if you'd have stayed in rock and roll?
Well, that is a big misconception. I was never rock and roll. I really wasn't. I was probably the worst rock and roll bass player in the world. And, I learned a lot from rock and roll, doing things, rock and roll. Like I say, rhythms from Buddy. And, but I was never, I probably would have been a 2-minute overnight success in rock and roll. I never could have made it.
Talking with Maria Holly, she has indicated that she thought if Buddy hadn't passed away that he might have gone country. Do you have any thoughts on that?
He was about he did Well All Right. And I loved that record of Well All Right. And he said, oh, that's a hillbilly. I think Buddy would have eventually been right in between Bob Seger and Neil Diamond, somewhere in there. I don't think, what he hated, just like I've always hated too, I hate labels. When people label somebody, that puts them in that little category where if you need them again, you can go get them out of that little pocket. He might, he would have done whatever he wanted. I know he would have done a country album. He had the greatest idea that he was going to do. He loved Ray Charles. And he had this idea to write songs, and all those piano riffs that he did, that Ray Charles did, he was going to do the Ray Charles arrangements on guitars. And if he'd have heard what I say, he'd have went crazy. He really loved Ray Charles very much. And I think Ray was one of the big influences on him. That, and I'll tell you somebody else loved him, Mickey and Sylvia. Loved his strings. Those straight eights on the guitar, I still use them a lot. You know.
Waylon, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you here. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking for a great show tonight.
If I can remember all them songs, I would.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's nice to meet you. Thanks.
Sir, if I just have you talking here.
Okay, we'll just talk like we've been doing like the last time. Great to have you here. It really is. It's great.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
You bet.
Willie who? Glad you're here, Waylon. Plate number.
Okay, I'll get it.